Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive. For 6 seasons, one man wore the cape, one woman chased the story, one kid got kidnapped every week, and one editor screamed until his heart gave out. But the man who played Superman died with a bullet in his head at 45, and nobody knows who pulled the trigger. The woman who played Lois Lane became a beach bum. The kid who played Jimmy Olsen hated the role so much it set him free. And the editor died 5 months after the final episode, still in character. Let's see what really happened. George Reeves as Superman, Clark Kent. George Reeves was born January 5, 1914, in Woolstock, Iowa. His parents separated after his birth. He grew up believing his stepfather was his real father. He didn't learn the truth until adulthood. He was 37 years old when he became Clark Kent. He didn't want the part.
You mean to say that you've been married to her for 15 years?
Yeah, 15 years!
And they call me Superman.
He'd appeared in Gone with the Wind and From Here to Eternity. He took the role because he was broke and digging cesspools for a living. Children loved him so deeply that a boy once pulled a loaded gun on him to see if the bullets would bounce off. Reeves talked the child down. He saved a real life while wearing a fictional costume.
No one, but no one can do the things that Superman does.
But the cape strangled his career. No one would cast Superman in a serious role. He was engaged to Lenore Lemon. He'd recently ended a long affair with Toni Mannix, wife of MGM Vice President Eddie Mannix. On June 16, 1959, a single gunshot was heard in his home. He was found naked, bullet wound to the right temple, no fingerprints on the gun, shell casing under his body, bruises never explained. His co-star Phyllis Coates received a call from Toni Mannix before dawn. The boy is dead. He's been murdered. Nobody ever explained how she knew before the police did. George Reeves was 45. The mystery has outlived everyone who was in the house that night. Jack Larson as Jimmy Olsen. Jack Larson was born on February 8, 1928 in Los Angeles. His father drove a milk truck. His mother worked at Western Union. He was discovered by a Warner Brothers scout while performing in a college musical. He lost his very first audition to a young woman who got the part instead. That woman was Marilyn Monroe. He was 23 years old when he became Jimmy Olsen, the eager cub reporter who got kidnapped so often it became a running joke. He took the role only because his agent convinced him the show would never air. It became a national phenomenon, and Jimmy Olsen became a prison. He was typecast so completely that no one would hire him for anything serious. So he stopped fighting and became someone else entirely. A playwright, a librettist, a producer. He wrote an opera. He produced films for his longtime partner, director James Bridges. They were together 35 years until Bridges died of cancer in 1993. Late in life, his bitterness softened. He made cameos in Superboy, Lois and Clark, and Superman Returns. He stopped resenting the role and started seeing what the audience always saw, a kid everyone loved. Jack Larson died on September 20, 2015 at 87. The man trapped by Jimmy Olsen escaped by becoming everything Jimmy never could, then came back on his own terms, with grace. Noel Neill as Lois Lane. Noel Neill was born on November 25, 1920, in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Her father was a newspaper editor who wanted her to become a journalist. She became something better, the first woman to ever play Lois Lane on screen. She originated the role in the 1948 Superman serial, reprised it in 1950.
Give me your hand, will you?
Then replaced Phyllis Coates for seasons 2 through 6 of the television series. She earned $225 per episode. She could nail a scene in a single take, which on a set where every minute cost money made her the most valuable performer in the building. After the show ended, she simply stopped acting. No bitterness, no comeback attempts, no tell-all interviews.
I doubt if Superman has any time for baseball right now.
Oh, you...
She married, moved near the beach, and disappeared from Hollywood entirely. She once told a reporter, "I just figured I'd worked enough. Basically, I'm a beach bum." In 2010, the city of Metropolis, Illinois, unveiled a bronze statue of Lois Lane modeled on her face. She showed up, smiled, and went home. Noel Neill died on July 3, 2016, at 95 years old, in Tucson, Arizona. She had no surviving family members. The first Lois Lane ever put on screen lived longer than every co-star, outlasted everyone, and died the way she lived, quietly, on her own terms, with nobody chasing the story. Phyllis Coates as Lois Lane, Season 1. Phyllis Coates was born on January 15, 1927, in Wichita Falls, Texas. She moved to Hollywood as a teenager and was discovered in a restaurant on Hollywood and Vine by a vaudeville comedian named Ken Murray. She started as a chorus girl, toured with the USO, and clawed her way into film through comedy shorts at Warner Brothers. She was 24 years old when she became Lois Lane in the pilot film Superman and the Mole Men and the entire first season of the series. Critics still call those episodes the Dark Series. Her Lois was sharper, tougher, more aggressive than any version that came after. Some said her portrayal was decades ahead of its time for women on television. She was accidentally punched unconscious during filming, and the take was left in because there was no time to reshoot. She left after one season due to scheduling conflicts. Noel Neill replaced her. For decades, Coates refused interviews about the show and rarely appeared at conventions. She later returned to play Lois Lane's mother in Lois and Clark. She was the last surviving regular cast member of the original series. Phyllis Coates died on October 11, 2023, at 96 years old. The toughest Lois Lane ever filmed was the last one standing. John Hamilton as Perry White. John Hamilton was born on January 16, 1887, in Shippensburg, Pennsylvania. He was trained to be a teacher. He abandoned that career and spent 25 years in vaudeville and Broadway before Hollywood noticed him. He was 65 years old when he became Perry White, the irascible, cigar-chomping editor of the Daily Planet who screamed, "Great Caesar's ghost," and "Don't call me chief," until both phrases entered the American vocabulary. He appeared in 102 of the show's 104 episodes, and here is the detail nobody talks about. By the later seasons, Hamilton was struggling to remember his lines. Rather than replace him, the producers taped the script to the papers on Perry White's desk so he could read them without the audience noticing. A director on the show later admitted, "Take him away from the desk and we were gambling. We could be there all day." He did it so seamlessly that nobody ever knew. John Hamilton died on October 15, 1958, of heart failure at 71 years old. 5 months after the final episode aired, he was the first cast member to die. The loudest voice in the Daily Planet went silent before the echoes of his last Great Caesar's ghost had even faded. Robert Shane as Inspector Henderson. Robert Shane was born on October 4, 1900, in Yonkers, New York. He worked as a reporter in Miami before becoming an actor. He spent decades on Broadway and in B-movies before landing the role of Inspector Bill Henderson, the Metropolis police detective who never once solved a case without Superman doing the actual work. He appeared in 90 of the show's 104 episodes. And here is the fact that reframes his entire career. Robert Shane was blacklisted. His ex-wife made false accusations to the House Un-American Activities Committee, claiming he was a communist. Kellogg's, the show's sponsor, wanted him fired immediately. It was George Reeves, Phyllis Coates, and producer Robert Maxwell who stood up for him, wrote letters, and fought to keep him on the show. Superman saved the cop. After the blacklist cleared, he kept working in small roles for decades. His last role, at 90 years old, was a blind newspaper vendor on the Flash television series in 1990, another superhero show. Still orbiting the same mythology, Robert Shane died on November 29, 1992, at 92 of lung cancer. The man, nearly erased from Hollywood by a lie, outlived almost everyone who tried to destroy him. Bill Kennedy as the narrator. Bill Kennedy was born on June 27, 1908, in Cleveland, Ohio. Before Adventures of Superman, he was a radio announcer who had worked his way through local stations across the Midwest. He was 44 years old when his voice became the most iconic opening in television history. Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. He never appeared on camera. He never wore the costume. He never received fan mail addressed to a character. But his voice was the first thing 40 million Americans heard every single week. He narrated all 104 episodes across all 6 seasons. His delivery set the tone for every Superman adaptation that followed, from Christopher Reeve to the animated series to the modern films. The cadence, the rising excitement, the sheer conviction that this man could fly. Kennedy invented that. After Superman, he became a beloved television personality in Detroit, hosting movie showcases and local programs for decades. He became a household name in Michigan, recognized everywhere he went. Bill Kennedy died on January 27, 1997, at 88 years old. The man whose face nobody knew gave Superman the single most recognizable introduction in entertainment history. Every actor who wore the cape stood on the foundation his voice built. That's Adventures of Superman, then and now, after 74 years. What really happened? The man in the cape died at 45 with a bullet no one can explain. The editor died 5 months after the last episode. The cop was nearly destroyed by a lie and outlived them all. Jimmy Olsen escaped his own name and built a life from words. One Lois Lane became a beach bum and died at 95. The other Lois Lane outlasted the entire cast. The voice that launched every episode was never once seen on screen. And the producer who built the show buried it himself rather than let someone else wear the cape. 6 people walked into the Daily Planet. One voice announced them. One man held it all together behind the camera. The cape made them immortal. The industry made them disposable. And George Reeves is still lying on that bed in Benedict Canyon, waiting for someone to finally solve the case. Because once you know that Superman died, and nobody can explain how, you never watch those episodes the same way again.